All right, welcome everybody. Today is August 30th. We are almost done with August and we're getting into the burn months. And so we have a couple of fun people that are going to join us today. Terry Mecklin is a gold and she's going to be talking about Mailbox Power with us really fast, just because I know a lot of you have been asking about postcard services and how to make the most out of recognizing your team for rank advancements or recognizing them for birthdays or doTERRA anniversaries. And this is a really great resource. And then we're going to jump into Quinn Curtis, and I am just like so excited for you all to meet this woman. She's amazing, and I'll tell you a little bit about her in a little bit, but just know that she's wonderful, and I can't wait for you to meet her. She's like the brand person, and anytime someone says they need help with brand stuff, she's the gal to go to. She's worked with multi-millionaires, and anyway, we'll get into a lot more on that later. But Terry, are you with us? I think I saw her in the waiting room. Oh, there you are. Hey, Terry. Hey, I'm going to let you share your screen if you want to, but do you want to kind of introduce a little bit about what Mailbox Power is, how you've used it for your business, and how these people can take advantage of it too?
Absolutely. So so excited to be here. I am a gold with doTERRA, and I've been using Mailbox Power for about 4 months, I think now. I was really looking for a way to connect with my people besides just text and email, because as most of you know, people are not opening their emails, and they're even getting to the point that they're really not looking at their text messages. When you can get a postcard in front of somebody or a greeting card, and especially if it has their name on it, they're going to open that. And then the value that you can provide, like here's an example, is phenomenal, and you can have your information on the back. So I luckily happened upon Mailbox Power, and it has been phenomenal. So I have seen more customer interaction, more LRPs. I know there was a Blue Diamond, I believe, that posted a couple months ago. Apparently she's using, I don't remember what her name was, but she's using Mailbox Power. And she sent it to just people on legs that she needed to reactivate and get them to be involved. She had 11,000 in PV volume just from that one postcard. And so it works. Getting that in front of your people. So I can share my screen and show y'all a little bit. The other thing that I love that I happened across is a group that we actually network, and we share information with each other. Well, I did have my stuff up. We share stuff with each other. So I'm going to show you that group as well, because it's really phenomenal. I can give anybody that's interested, you can get a free 2 weeks just to try it out. I also, when you use my link, I will send you this whole section of cards I'm about to show you, so you can get those. What I've done is set up a drip campaign. So they're going to get 12 cards with different topics. So this one is going to be photosensitivity. You're invited. That's our continuing education. It's going to talk about LRP. Roller bottle recipes. What's cool is that you can actually put people on a drip campaign. So let me stop sharing for just a second. When you put them on that drip campaign, you set it up the way you want with the cards that you want. And so my brand new customers, when they start, I put them in the drip campaign. That's all I have to do. And I know for the next 12 months, they're going to get a postcard every single month that I have designed for them. And it's going to give them information. So as I've checked back in with people, I no longer feel like, oh my gosh, I didn't talk to that person in how many months, and now I'm going to call them and see if they want to do the BOGO. You know how awkward that feels. So now I know if something's happened and I haven't talked to them in 3 or 4 months for some reason, they've heard from me. They've been getting a postcard in the mail. And I get a lot of people that will send a snapshot of, hey, look what I got in the mail today. They're super excited. Let me share my screen and I'll show you what our collaboration group is doing. And
Sorry, while you're pulling that up too, for those that are still trying to understand, like, how is this different from like send out cards or those other things? Send out cards is kind of like a one-time thing. You're going to pay for the postage, pay for the printing, and they're going to send it off for you that one time. But Mailbox Power, you can set up these drip campaigns. If you want one to go out to that customer one every month or one every 3 months, you decide on how frequent you want it to go out. And then the drip happens without you having to think about it. And so, and it's a lot more cost effective because you're basically paying a monthly fee for Mailbox Power rather than a big bulk of postcards that can get really expensive really fast. So that's kind of one of the major differences between this and a lot of other postcard services.
Yeah, thank you, Megan. So there is a monthly fee with this. You can get together with other people. There's some things that you can do to help pay for that. It is $49 a month, but I have found it to be very useful for me. I even can send out cards and gifts. Like I sent all of my people that were going to convention, I sent these cute little luggage tags to them. So there's gifts that you can do. Here's a postcard ready to go out that somebody created. And when all the new products come, this will immediately be ready to go out to all their customers. So you can set up groups. You can send products with them, pictures. Somebody's already created a Christmas card. So you get, let me tell you a little bit about it. You get unlimited postcards. You're just paying for the postage for that $49 a month. And then you get 50 free greeting cards a month. And so when you're doing your greeting cards, if you do not send them all out, send them to yourself. So this was a great one that somebody created in the group. It's a welcome. Inside, it has a little message to them, and then it has the different things that you might want to send them in your welcome package. And I can send 50 of these to myself and maybe put a bag of popcorn. I can show you how to do that. It's super easy, super cost effective. And it really has been a game changer. And you can either send out just one thing to somebody, or like we talked about, you can set up a drip campaign so that they're getting a ton of things. Are there any questions? Because I know I was trying to do it super quick and just run through some of the biggest details.
Yeah, so 2 questions. Alana is wondering, can you share the link to the group? And can you also put your link to Mailbox Power here, and we'll copy that and then also put it out in the notes today. And we know we have a lot of international people with us, a lot of Spanish and around the world. Do you know if they work internationally?
They don't currently. Right now, they are locally. It's going to be just the United States at this moment. I think you can do it in Canada, but Canada's postage, I understand, is pretty expensive. So a lot of the people haven't felt that it's worked for them yet. So be on the lookout. They may change that. That is my link. Phil, you know what? Let me put my cell phone and email in here. Because I can actually get on a Zoom and do a Zoom and show you a little bit more detail, or show you more detail on what I am doing, and also show you how to go in and get your postcards paid for.
Yeah, in fact, do you want to create like a little, even like a Loom video where you kind of record and kind of do a deep dive into it that I can share with the notes this week?
Sure.
And the link to that Facebook group that you were talking about too.
Yep. The Facebook group you can't get into unless you are already a member of Mailbox Power. You have to be a member there. So once you sign up, this link up here, the mailboxpower.com/more value, that is your 2-week free trial. So you can get in there, try everything, play with the postcards that I give you, answer questions. And when you do that free trial, you can get into the group.
Cool. Awesome. And the cool thing, by the way, about Mailbox Power too, is that even within the system, I've seen a lot of doTERRA templates living within the system versus like you having to create your own. And it's awesome too that Terry has this resource where they share and collaborate and create resources together. But there's also some within the system too, which is really cool because so many doTERRA people are using it that you can use their drip stuff also. So cool.
Yep.
Thank you.
Everybody is sharing in the group. You're welcome.
Yes. And then let's see. Dave said, you mentioned sending it to yourself. Do you repurpose it or just to have? So she was talking that she keeps them on hand to send in like welcome packages and stuff, Dave. Cool.
You can do your Christmas cards, thank you cards, anything like that if you don't use your 50 free ones.
Cool. Nicole says, is anyone making convention cards for watch parties? And then Katie says, do you create your templates in Canva?
Yes, you can create them in the group, but I create most of mine in Canva and then upload them to Mailbox Power. But you can also create them just in Mailbox Power.
Cool. Nice. All right. Well, thank you so much, Terry. We're going to turn the time over to Quinn, and we're going to talk about some branding stuff. So we're so excited. So let me introduce the amazing Quinn for you really quickly. She is the founder and CEO of Sequoia Brand or Sequoia Soul Branding plus Marketing. She is a brand strategist for world changers plus big dreamers. She has nearly a decade of experience developing businesses and brands, including working with multi-million-dollar brands to increase profitability and effectiveness while transforming their culture. She has been nicknamed the midwife for her gentle, joyful, but also firm approach to drawing out genius and helping creative projects be born successfully into the world. A little about her personally. She is a mother of 5. They're all under the age of 15, and they've overcome a myriad of hurdles in growing their family and their dreams. She loves exploring the world and recently crossed off ride a camel in Africa from her bucket list. In her spare time, she loves to paint, draw, and read old fairy tales to her children. And she is just completely wonderful. I'm so excited that you get to connect with her today. She is so I love Quinn. I just have to I have to let you all know, like, I love Quinn. She and I had a strategy session. It helped me get so clear on where I needed to go. And even the work that she does for a lot of my clients, I see this massive transformation from their brand, and they just really up level and own their business, which is so fun to watch. So Quinn, we're so excited to have you here.
Oh my gosh, I'm so honored. Thank you for being here. I was just sitting here thinking I am one of Megan's biggest fans as well, like obsessed with you and the work that you do. I'm constantly referring and recommending you too. So it's such a fun collaboration that we have. I love it.
Yes, and I'm so excited we get to talk about branding today, because I feel like everybody here, this is something that no matter where you are in your business, everybody needs branding strategy. So right away, tell me a little bit about kind of why branding is so important to build, and how that can change a business.
Absolutely. So maybe it's good to start with some terminology, because I think that there's a lot of Facebook ads and videos and stuff out there that's like, grow your brand, and it's all referring to different things. So it can be really confusing. Raise your hand if you've been confused by the term as well. I definitely am like, what are they talking about? And so there's a couple of ways that I like to think about it. First of all, that a brand is really like your overall reputation or how people perceive your business. I kind of like to think of it as like what people say about you or your business when you're not in the room. And that can be a little bit intimidating, right? And so sometimes that brand or that overall perception of you, especially online, may not be in alignment with the truth of who you are. And so this is where I see like a kind of a Cinderella complex of people who are brilliant and magnificent, who are really hiding and kind of playing the Cinderella in rags role and trying to grow their businesses and just exhausting themselves in their sales cycles and feeling like they've just got to do all the things on social media. They're wearing themselves out, when in reality, if they applied more intention and strategy to their brand, then it's so much easier for people to see that massive value that they have to offer. So the biggest way that you can affect your overall brand, the part that you have control over, would be a twofold thing. So first of all, we can affect perception when we affect your branding. And I define branding as your style and your message. That's it. So when you get really clear on what is my style and what does it look like through graphic design, like I was loving the graphics that Terry was sharing. Everybody's like, oh, these are so beautiful. That's a piece of the strategy that's making it so her Mailbox Power efforts are so much more effective. She's building credibility because people see the cards and they're happy and they're lovely and they feel really good, right? So that's a piece of that style part. But the second part would be the message, and message comes into play when we're really communicating, you know, what do you do? Why do you do it? Who are you? What do you do? And why does it matter? So those are the 3 questions that your message overall needs to convey. So that means when somebody comes to your website or they come to your social media account and they quickly read your bio, if you aren't answering those 3 questions and they have to hunt to figure it out, that's really tricky. So I'll repeat those 3 questions again, just because they are so important. And I know some of you guys are taking notes. So that's understanding, who am I? What do I do? And why does it matter? Oh, thanks, Megan, for copying this down. So
I was
that would
me and Jamie are doing it together.
and obviously I really geek out on this, Megan. So you'll need to like, hold on now, Quinn, if I'm fire hosting or something. But just wrapping up that concept. So that would be your branding, that's your style and your message. But the other part where you really affect how your business is perceived would be through your operations. And so this is where I like the, in fact, I think I've got a visual right here that maybe would do a better job. It might take me too long, but basically that there are 4 main audiences you're always trying to connect with and talk to in your business and work with. So there's your network, which is like the outer world or anybody that might see you on social media, or maybe you went to high school with them, just anybody out there. And then there's your prospects, people who have actually expressed, yes, I'm interested in what you're sharing. Tell me more, right? They're showing up to a class, they're getting on a call with you, they're emailing you, they've left you their email, whatever way that might look like, they're now a prospect. The third group of people would be your customers and clients. So that would be once they're interested, now they've actually purchased and now they're buying from you, and they really want results with whatever you shared with them, right? And then our fourth and final group of people is our greater community. So this is people who are really excited and jazzed about our mission, our vision, what we're creating in doTERRA. This is really where you see your business builders showing up. And so there's this way that if we're only worrying about how things look and sound, which would be style and message, which are really important, but if we're only worrying about those and we're not also worrying about how are we taking care of each of these 4 audiences and making sure that they're having a good experience, then we're also dropping the ball. So like the relief that Terry was sharing of like, oh, finally, I'm feeling like I'm getting connections to all of these beautiful people that I do care about, but I don't have time to like talk to every one of them all the time, right? That's a system that Terry put into place that helps make sure to take really good care of her customers. So where I see a lot of businesses get really stuck and not being aware of these aspects is they just keep adding more bells and whistles into their processes, and really dropping the ball on either like 1 or 2 or more of their certain audiences. Like this is where you'll see, and I'm sure you guys can relate or you've seen this, you'll see people focusing all of their time and energy on their marketing. And they're just like spending every second on social media. They're like, why isn't my business growing? Right? Or you get other people who aren't marketing at all, and they're just adding more and more bells and whistles, maybe for their customers. And they're just really trying to soup things up there, but they don't get any new blood coming into their business. So when you really kind of balance these 2 pieces and you say, okay, let's define what does the brand look like and feel like? So that style piece. What's the message? Are we being really clear to people about who we are, what we do, and why it matters? And then do we have the systems in place to support people having a really good experience in our business, which might sound harder than it actually is. But when you have those pieces in place, it just like the capacity to scale your business just grows exponentially, because now instead of you only being able to take really good care of one person, that you were able to like have a heart-to-heart conversation, and now they understand the massive value you have to offer. Instead, you've made that massive value loud and clear online. People see it, they get it, they're excited about it. And then you have the systems to support lots of people having a great experience with your business. So I think those are the main components. It's a very long answer, I guess, but I feel like that base understanding of just what are we even talking about when we're talking about a brand is really important. So I hope that's helpful.
Yeah. The whole time you were talking, the word that kept coming to mind was character. That like your brand is really a lot of your character as a company, as a business. So I really love that. So here's an interesting question. Since a lot of the people here are doTERRA wellness advocates, how do they, I know because I've heard many of them say this, how do they make themselves stand out among all the other doTERRA people when they're offering the same product or service? How do they brand and niche down so they can actually find people and bring them in? Yeah.
Like I gave you this question. This is an amazing question, Megan. Thank you. But yes, so many people do struggle with this. So the first thing that I would see is that most people in doTERRA are incorrectly branding themselves. They're branding themselves as like a clever name. So they're like, I'm Spoiled Essentials. It's very, very confusing for your audience. If you think about how you grow your doTERRA business in person, where it's like you've got your friend Nancy and you go over to her house and you tell her about the oils and she's so excited and she loves you. She's known you for a while, right? Like that's basically your personal brand that has equity, that's making it so she knows, likes, and trusts you at least enough to listen. Same thing happens when people come to a class. You don't introduce yourself as I'm Spoiled Essentials. You say, I'm Quinn Curtis and I have such a passion for this. I'm excited to share, right? And so the same thing is true online. And this is where you probably might, some of you get a pit in your stomach. It's never too late to change things and refine, by the way, which is the beauty of the internet. But you really do want to lean into a personal brand when you're growing a doTERRA business. It's going to make things so much easier. And just speaking from all of the businesses that I've helped to grow online, the hardest types of businesses to grow are corporate or business types of businesses, not personal brands. Personal brands are dramatically easier to grow online. And that's because, I mean, just like you don't want to follow a bunch of businesses. You want to follow real people. That's interesting to you in your feed. It's interesting to look at their stories or their posts. And the same is true for your doTERRA business. So network marketers, authors, speakers, coaches, influencers, you're going to see much more success with a personal brand to grow your business online than you would otherwise. That's just one small piece of the puzzle. I mean, the other piece would just be really trusting that, like, deep breath, because I'm going like a mile a minute. Just really trusting that the people that you're meant to serve with this really are out there, that you're not meant to serve everybody. It doesn't even require you to serve millions in order for you to have an amazing income with doTERRA. In fact, I really counted the numbers. I have a global doTERRA team myself. And one day I like mapped it all out and I was like, wait a minute. Like that's all it would take to create a diamond leg. Like if you got everything perfect, which never happens, but in theory, you really don't need masses. You need good quality people that see the vision, that love the oils, that resonate with you, right? And so when you focus less on the masses, because when we focus on masses, we kind of do like robotic kind of messaging and copy and paste. We get really excited by like, oh, you're going to write all my Instagram posts, company? Yes, I'll just copy and paste all these pre-written Instagram posts. Your target market does not want that. They want to hear from you, right? So when you're worried about masses, that's where those ideas seem good. Like I'll just copy and paste social media posts, or I'm just going to put up tons of photos of products in my feed. But when you're focused on the one or the two, or you think about doTERRA, like that's the power of three, right? What if you have your entire Instagram account or whatever social platform you're on, and your job with that account is to find your three amazing partners? That's it. You let go of all of that stress of the masses, and instead you show up to serve them. Right? Then everything kind of changes, right? Now you're like, well, there are people like me. There are people who care about these things, or there are people that I would want to take out for coffee, or we'd like, get on the phone. We talk for hours about these things that are really important to us. Well, that's how they want to connect to you on social media, right? So it's just a different mindset shift that I think really helps you show up to serve instead of showing up to sell. When you show up to sell, that's the masses approach here again, and it rarely works. Your retention is going to stink. I mean, I work with doTERRA's top leaders. You like Elise Shedevy is a client of mine. The Goddards are a client of mine. Haley Hobson is a client of mine, and I could go on and on and on. And with all of their processes, I have seen this to be true, that they show up with passion, with heart and soul. That's what grows their business, right? They show up to sell and just give discounts or whatever. There's no retention in that, and they remain slaves to their businesses. So they're all coming to me of like, Quinn, help us position ourselves so that we can get back to being a human that cares online, and that like people perceive us as that. And then we help craft like just bringing out the truth of who they are instead of this salesy version that sometimes happens when you're not really aware of your brand or you're not thinking about it.
I love how you explain that power of three, the taking that principle from doTERRA and applying to social media, just finding those three people. And even if you narrow it down, like, I'm just speaking to those three core people, what would they want to hear from me? And how can I build that relationship? It's kind of like the quote, if you try to speak to everybody, you speak to no one. And I feel like that's very, very true with your branding. Like, you really do have to get specific with who it is that you're connecting to, instead of like, well, if anybody wants oils, I will give them to everybody. I mean, that's true. That's for sure true. But who are you speaking to, really? Sarah had a good question. She said, I would like to know, how does this align with creating content or coming up with ideas to create that content based on content pillars?
Ooh, that's a juicy question too. You guys are just asking the best questions. I actually teach a different kind of process with core content or content pillars and how to fill up your marketing strategy with those pieces. But I usually anchor it on helping people, first of all, to find their core message. And that usually at least gives one of those content pillars a little bit of a different spin. So for example, one of my clients is I'll pull a doTERRA client out of the hat, actually. So I usually recommend 4 content pillars, no more. And ideally no less, because 4 will be really good. And then, so one of their content pillars would be essential oils or natural solutions. The second would be partnering them with the business or just business opportunity, changing your life, making an impact in the world, those kinds of themes. And then the third content pillar is typically kind of get to know you. So like a little bit behind the scenes and what lights you up, what's your passion, what's your why, that's a little bit, could be mission, vision. And then the fourth usually has to do specifically with your target market, the people that you're the most excited to serve. And so like in one instance of a client, she is so passionate about helping moms with special needs children. Right. So that's going to be her fourth content pillar, is like really talking about their struggles, what they want, tips and tricks and ideas for their specific situation. So that's another way where when we stay too general, we would only talk about oils in the business, but we never let people in. So that piece about us, and then we never really connect with the people that we're just dying to serve, which is where you really get clear about your people.
Ooh, so good. That's so, so good. So what are some simple ways then that we can kind of create a stronger brand?
I think the easiest, fastest way is just to answer those questions, like brainstorm those for yourself, like just get clear on your message first. So who are you? What do you do? Why does it matter? And like, those could be very surface where you're like, I could answer that in 5 minutes, right? But when you really get down to the heart of it all, like, well, who am I really? Like, I always hear Moana singing when I think of this question, right? Where she's like, I'm Moana Moitanui, and I've got the heart of Te Fiti, and I came from this island, and I'm the chief's daughter. Like, she is so clear in who she is, and that's lighting her path, right? It's that kind of knowing, like, I am a mother of 5 and I love world travel and I love blah, 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 whatever it might be. Who the heck are you, right? And a little bit of your personality can show in that. And then second of all, what do you do? There's this element of like, well, I sell oils and I have a doTERRA like opportunity, but then what do you really do? You change lives, right? You empower people to be able to take care of their children naturally. You empower people to have options to change their financial future dramatically alongside of whatever they're doing in life, including a full-time job. Like that. So that's this piece of what's this deeper, what do you do? Yeah. And then the third piece of why does it matter? It's kind of where you get into the pain points that you're the most passionate about. Like, why does it matter? Because people are scared right now. They're losing money. Inflation is happening. COVID is stressing everybody out. Like, why does it matter? Because people deserve to know about this incredible opportunity. Or it matters because the more people that are empowered, the better this world gets, because then there's lots of people who can be generous and lots of people who can support good causes, right? Or whatever it might be for you. But those 3 questions can be huge. And then I would invite you, your homework is go check out your Instagram profile or whatever social media you're playing on and give it that 3-question test of, am I answering those questions in my bio? Like, is it really easy for people to see that? I think that's one of the strongest ways. And then outside of that, there's so many layers to it, which I definitely teach all the time. And I love talking about more. I don't know how much time we really want to give to that. I'm happy to give you more ideas, but that would be a big first step, is to answer those 3 questions and then just start talking about those things more and more in your social media. Show up more for that.
I love that. And it reminds me, sometimes I'll tell people that if they write down all of the pain points or struggles that their customers or potential customers are experiencing, then on the flip side, write what their solutions are to each one of those things. Not just like a big, like I sell oils and so I solve health problems, but like really get down to like every single challenge that your customers are facing and your solutions, whether it's for the business or the oils or lifestyle or health, whatever it is, writing them all down. I feel like then if you speak specifically to that message, then they're like, she gets me. That person gets me.
Yes, that's definitely a messaging exercise I love, and very similar to the one that I guide my clients through as well, and students, because I love how it gets you in this mindset of speaking to, where they're really at. So like an example I give, and just to clarify, what time do we have, Megan? So I'm just being
Till
really
7:30, so about 30 minutes.
Oh, beautiful. Okay, I'm like, if we're already over time, I'm so sorry. Okay,
so you're good.
Okay, I just didn't read my email close enough. I'm sorry. So yeah, the example I love to give is if you were really, really struggling with your weight, and it had been a struggle for a while, and you had 2 health coaches that you were considering working with. And the first coach says, you can totally lose this weight. You just need to go on a keto diet. You need to exercise for 30 to 40 minutes a day. And you need to do a check-in call with me every week and you can lose the weight. That's option 1. Option 2 is a coach who says, man, I bet since you have been struggling with weight, that you've tried other things. Like I'm sure that you've tried those other things and they didn't work. And it probably made you kind of shake your confidence that even a solution is possible. But I know also that you're probably looking towards the future and recognizing if I don't do something, like my future does not look great. And you're probably looking at your kids running around and you're thinking, I really want to be there for them. And I want to have the energy and the health to show up for them. Well, I'm here to tell you, if you work with me for the next 90 days, your life right now won't even be recognizable to you. You're going to see some really powerful shifts in your health and your life that are going to make it so your hopes and dreams that you've thought maybe, hopefully, they're going to become more of a reality than they ever have. Right? Which coach are you more inclined to work with or even listen to more? Would be coach number 2, right? And coach number 2, by the way, told you nothing about what you were going to need to do once you purchased. So you might have to do a keto diet. You might have to give up your favorite thing, but you don't care as much because you know that they hear you, they see you, they understand you, and they empathize with your journey. And so this is the strategy of marketing. A lot of times we confuse marketing with sales, right? Where we just push products or we just push, like take action on people. But really what changes somebody's mind is an emotional decision. That's what gets them to buy. And that emotional decision happens when you hit them in the heart. So when they hear like, ooh, you know what this pain is like, you know exactly what I'm hoping for, they feel so much more trust in you, and that makes them much more likely to purchase. So that means that the majority of your marketing content should be that kind of content, speaking to the vision of where are they now, where do they want to be, what are they struggling with, what's possible. And then, you can pull out all of your cool tools that you have for them, like oils and enrollment and LRP and business opportunities, but only after you've really earned the right to share that solution with them, that they've taken that step closer and they know that they can trust you. So it is a different art. And I feel like that's probably the biggest disservice and the biggest beef that I personally have against doTERRA's marketing team is they keep trying to teach wellness advocates to grow their business like doTERRA corporate would grow their business. And it's completely off. Your greatest value as a wellness advocate is your story and your why, your passion, your enthusiasm. Like it's those energetics. It's not the products. Like it's really a different mindset shift, but that doesn't mean you don't show yourself using products or you don't talk about oils here and there. It's just a different way of looking at your marketing, where you're really thinking of it more like, when I post this, it's almost like I'm going over to talk to my next door neighbor about something that really matters. I'm going to post that instead
It's
of I'm going
almost
to
like,
walk over and throw a product guide at her and tell her why, right? Yeah.
yeah, it totally reminds me of that, the quote, service, not sales. And we hear that a lot, but I feel like it's really what we're doing is, instead of going into like a one-on-one, we're like, oh my gosh, someone finally is interested in the essential oils. I got to come up with this great speech and figure out what we're going to talk about. And I got to have my outline figured out. And I always tell my clients to abandon that idea entirely and just show up and say, what are you struggling with right now? How is life? Like, what's going on in your life right now? And then starting with that, and don't even have an agenda, don't even have a script, just keep asking them questions about what they're experiencing. Where would they like to see themselves in 6 months, 5 years, 10 years? What are their greatest challenges that they're experiencing in their life, health, and business, and financial situation? Then suddenly they're going to open up to you and you're going to be like, oh, I've got some things that are going to be great for you. And that's where the magic happens.
Yeah, then it feels almost like this best kept secret that you just can't help but share, right? And it's this piece where everybody's so afraid to be salesy, and for good reason, right? That is a turn off, but recognizing that salesiness comes when you're well, I mean, there's a couple of ways I believe salesiness happens, but the biggest is when you are not showing up to serve your people, you're showing up to serve you, right? So that's one of the key reasons where you're like, I need more sales this month, throw out content, throw out a bunch of posts, right? Or it also comes, salesiness happens when we are so focused on our own insecurities that it blocks us from seeing our people, and here again, showing up to serve. So this looks like, I just don't look good on camera, or like people don't want to see me. Like, that is fear talking, and that is not showing up to serve your people. They don't care about you being perfect. They don't care that you've made it to diamond. They want to be a part of your journey. They want to be a part of, your tribe, your community. They want to feel a part of something bigger. And so there's just, anyways, a lot of ways where I think most wellness advocates kind of shoot themselves in the foot and think, well, sure, I could do amazing marketing when I'm a double presidential diamond, right? Because then I'll have so much credibility. But the reality is, like, you're much more likely, in fact, double presidential diamonds are actually very removed, most of them, from what real life is like, as bless their hearts. Like, they are somewhat close, but they definitely, at least in my experience with all the beautiful diamonds and presidential diamonds I've worked with, I noticed this, that they really lose touch with their target markets. They stop really remembering how, like, even somebody feeling like they have $20 that they could spend feels safe, right? Like, there's just this different reality. And so you at the beginning of your doTERRA journey, or in the premier, executive, silver, gold kind of phase of your journey, is actually an amazing part of your journey, because you can really relate to your target market. You can still taste that reality clearly enough that you can communicate it really effectively.
Ooh, I love that. There is one, I think it's Nicole. She said, I've noticed my doTERRA content falls flat, and anything with me in the picture gets a lot of likes, but neither get any comments. Any suggestions?
Absolutely. So first of all, you're reminding me of a distinction. A lot of people will pull out, well, so-and-so's content is all doTERRA, and they've got like 100,000 followers. And I asked them, okay, well, who's commenting on their post? Is it prospects, or is it people who are already enrolled in doTERRA? It's people who are already enrolled. That's who's the most excited about that content. Do they get enrollments to those accounts? Absolutely. But do they get tons? And do they get people who are builders? No. Right? They get people who want them to build their business a lot of the times. Okay. So that's a whole other related topic, right? But yes, doTERRA content could fall flat. If it gets a lot of likes, I would really be checking your messaging overall, especially that first line of just like, how are you engaging people? So questions are really good to bring in some engagement right away in the beginning of the post, or a kind of surprising statement. Your first line of your post has to be as like compelling and stops the scroll as much as the image usually, which means essentially test it. Like nobody starts doTERRA, not very many people, as professional marketers. And so like, you're fine, test it out, try it out, see what works. But I would say that most of you will have more success treating your your social media accounts as if you were an influencer than as if you were a wellness advocate. It's a different shift of mindset. So if you look at other influencer accounts, that could give you some good inspiration. You could watch like, well, which posts get the most engagement on theirs? But you'll notice on most influencer accounts, it is largely photos of them. That doesn't mean that if you are not comfortable in the camera, that's the only way. It's definitely not the only way to grow an account. But if you were playing with that, Nicole, that would be something I would try, is like, first of all, go with what works, do more photos of you. And then second of all, really watch your messaging and see how you can make that beginning a lot more engaging.
Yeah, I would also add to that reels, if you're talking about Instagram, get more engagement than posts will, especially lately. But there are people who are going to watch you for a while before they ever make a jump into anything. And so if you think about any purchase you've ever made, did you go and see an ad for it and be like, I'm there, I'm buying it right now? It usually takes a few times where you're like, oh, a friend told me about that. Oh, and now I'm seeing it on TV. Oh, and then I think I saw it on my Instagram feed. Like you start, it's the law of 4 interactions. Go Google Tiffany Peterson, law of 4 interactions. And it's a really great 5-minute clip. But she essentially talks about, generally we need 4 interactions with something before we are ready to make the leap or purchase. And so think in your mind, what are those 4 interactions you're giving people? Are they just going to commit on the first post they see? Or what other things are you doing to nurture and engage that audience versus just your social media? How can you get them off social media and put them somewhere else, like an email list or a webinar or somewhere else that you're nurturing these people and giving them more value to? So they might be watching you, and likes are great still. It's not the end all if you're only getting likes. And so I'd say that maybe even start reaching out to people who are liking you and say, hey, I've noticed we've been following each other for a little while. I just wanted to get to know you in your DMs. Like, what's going on in your life right now? Don't pitch them. Just get to know them.
My gosh, yes, please don't pitch heart attack. Yeah. But I mean, really thinking about how, if you're just looking for your 3 amazing partners on social, then it's about building relationships, which is what you were describing so beautifully. It's like essentially starting conversations and connecting with people. And a really fun way to do that on Instagram, if you are using that, is using the voice memo. Like just that one thing, shifting how you would have said it in type, where people kind of feel a little bit like, was this copied and pasted, versus you just speaking really quick. Like, thanks so much for liking my post. I hope you're having a really great day. I loved your feed. It looks like we have similar values. Tell me what's something you're celebrating this week, right? Like always ending it with a question can really help you get better engagement in your DMs as well. Of like, tell me something you're celebrating. What's something you're working on right now? What's a big win for you today? Or, what are you grateful for today? Like people have a hard time just letting that question sit, and they'll usually, oh, fine, I'll just write something back. And now you've started a conversation.
Yeah, the people who DM me, there's 2 groups of people. There's the people who are like, hey, I love your feed. I would love to tell you more about what I do. And then there's other people who are like, hey, I really resonate with you and your content. And I just wanted to like say hi. And this is, I would love to know more about your business. How did it start? And then in my mind, I'm like, well, I could talk about my business all day long. So let me just tell you. And then they don't pitch me. They just keep it like, that's so amazing. It's amazing that you do this. And, then we start generating a conversation, but they don't pitch me. But I have them now in my back pocket. Like, these are people I want to connect with. And I keep following them. And one day thinking, maybe I'll hire them as a business coach for an hour someday, or maybe I'll purchase their next course, because I love the relationship that we've built, instead of being like, hey, I like your feed. Let me tell you about my products. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Well, it's really looking at social media as a networking tool, right? They're social networks instead of a sales tool. It's actually a terrible sales tool, but it's a really good networking tool.
Absolutely.
So that sales piece to happen, like you said, with some other ideas, like it's like you've got to have the social media be the first really juicy touch in, and then it leads to other things. Otherwise, it's really hard. Like, I don't know if anybody has great success of like, hey, there's an enrollment special today, and if you contact me, I'll give you a free frankincense. Those just rarely ever work. It's more like, hey, I am passionate about making sure that 3 more people this month are really taken care of, that they know what to do for their immune system, that they're feeling confident about how they can take care of their kids in their home this month. If that's you and you're looking for other ideas, DM me. right? Much more effective. And then you're like, surprise, there's actually a bonus today. And then they're even more excited, right? But it's never the product that's going to convince somebody to buy unless you're in person and you're ripping open a bottle of wild orange and putting it under their nose, right? That's a different story where the product sells itself. Online, you just don't have that advantage.
Yeah, I love that. Speak to their heart, speak to their greatest challenges. So we talked about a few mistakes that people make with their branding. What are a few others that we should be aware of and avoid?
Yes. Okay. This is good. I'm going to pull up my notes just so I can see what we haven't covered. I think one of the things is kind of thinking, oh, I need a brand. So I got to go find a graphic designer and make a logo, and then I'll have a brand. So it's this misperception that a brand equals a logo and or a website. And once you've got that done, you've got a brand. It just doesn't work that way. It's a lot more complex. And I usually see, especially after people go through my proprietary process, like they really find like, oh, shoot, that logo really wasn't in alignment with what I'm trying to communicate or the people that I'm trying to reach. And so I think that's a huge mistake. I would love to see more people just like taking their time more and like, what do I actually want this brand to look and feel like? Who am I trying to reach with this brand? What are my goals for this brand? Like, what do I even need it to do for me? Do you know how many beautiful, darling doTERRA wellness advocates have come to me and they've shown me their websites and they're like, I have no idea why my website is broken. It just doesn't work. And I look at their website, it's basically a shop. I'm like, well, who are you trying to connect with? Like, well, I just really would love more business builders. Well, it looks like you really want more customers. Right. And so here again, just being very clear, like a site that's strategically looking for partners is very different than just an e-commerce site selling oils, which hint is why the doTERRA sites are not your most effective marketing tool if you're really working an online strategy. They're an amazing shopping cart, and you kind of have to use them for the shopping cart in most cases. But as far as an enrollment tool and getting people excited about the business, they're terrible. So that's where a personal website would be much more effective. Like the sites that Megan and I love on Wovoto are super powerful. I put my entire, like all the strategy that I had put into my like top leaders of doTERRA's strategies into building their websites. I put that whole templated strategy of their websites into all of the doTERRA websites that are on Wovoto, and you can just plug and play into that process. It's instead of thinking like, oh yeah, Quinn told me I needed this really clear strategy, just follow the plug and play process in Wovoto and you'll be mostly there. So that would be a key one. Anything to add to that one though, before I race on?
Yeah, actually, so Quinn, for those of you that don't know, designed the Wovoto templates, the doTERRA Wovoto templates. So those of you that are using Wovoto, she's the genius behind those that made them look so beautiful and customized to the doTERRA wording and really making those speak to your audience. So she's the genius behind the curtain.
I can't take all the credit for that. I have an amazing team, but it was my strategy for like the bones and the structure and the flow of those websites. And then my team brought the design to life, which is magic. But yeah. Thank you for the props. That's so sweet of you.
Well, you know, I love Wovoto and I love all that you do. So
we both are geeking out. I have a new chart to share with you, Megan. Oh my God. I know Megan and I love those kinds of things. So in fact, okay. I might need to share it with you guys before we're done, because I think you would all love it too. But let me finish answering this question too. So this one, getting involved in, this one's so heartbreaking. Getting involved in more marketing strategies and doing new things without a brand in place just to get more. So I think this one's really driven by FOMO. Somebody tells you, oh, nobody's on Facebook anymore. You got to be on Instagram. And then somebody else tells you, no, everybody's on TikTok. So then you're like trying to play in all of the social medias, not doing any of them well, mind you, and you're stressed and exhausted behind the scenes, right? I think that is a huge area where if you were just clear with your brand strategy of just, what's our style, what's our message, who are we trying to connect with, and then what systems do we need to actually connect to them and lead them through the business, that changes everything. And then I've got probably a lot more, but I'll just give you this one of just spending too much time trying to craft a perfect brand and website instead of just getting one out there that's solid and making it as clear as you can right now. So this is where you just really have to honor and appreciate that simplicity comes on the other side of complexity. So today's answer to who am I, what do I do, and why does it matter is going to be really different than your answer in 6 months or a year. And that's perfect. That's okay. Get out there, start playing with that answer that you have today. That's what's going to help that answer to evolve to be even more clear and strong. But meanwhile, is when like I tell my students this all the time, like just even getting a little bit more clarity, even you guys just sitting here tonight, listening to this gets you more and more in alignment with your soul brand, which makes you more and more magnetic. I've had people attend my workshops. They just listen to all the stuff, do a couple exercises, they leave, and the next week they've got like, especially doTERRA people, they're enrolling like 3 to 5 new people that seem to come out of nowhere. I see this all the time, and I really have to blame it on just that you're more magnetic because you're getting more and more clear and you're getting more in that heart-centered space with your business. So recognize that you don't have to do this perfectly to start seeing results. You also don't need your brand finished to get results. Like just getting a little piece out there and a little piece out there, it's like it drops an anchor down and you stay more and more in alignment with that juicy space. I'm geeking out a little bit again, but that is huge.
I love that. Well, I know we've talked about a lot of different things today, Quinn, and I would love for them to know more. How can they get to know or partner with you more? Because you offer so many neat services to solve a lot of these problems with website creation and logos and branding strategies. There's so many things that you do, and you even have a really great challenge coming up this month. So I'd love for you to speak on some of those things and how people can get to know more of you.
Thank you. Yeah, I was just realizing I should pull up a couple of links, and I'll just drop them in the chat. If we have a second, I would love to share that chart with you guys too, because Megan, that will answer Nicole's question too. So, okay, so the first one, this is my agency's website. So if and when you ever wanted custom branding or support in that way, you can see our portfolio and some other good things and set up a time to connect with my team. That's an option for that. However, if you're not quite in that zone yet in your business where you're ready to really invest in custom branding created for you, which I hear you, it's not, it is a different phase of business, then I highly recommend my Soul Brand Camp program, which I'll put the link in here. It happens to be on a ridiculous discount through tonight only, just because we had just run a big promotion through last week and it's ending today. But this is like a DIY step-by-step process of how to do every part of what I've described, all the way from like figuring out what your brand is, defining the style and the message, and then creating your brand. So even creating a logo and a website and making it all beautiful, and then building your brand. So having a rock solid marketing strategy with that branding in mind, with all the things that we've been talking about. So that program is like my apex of all the goodness that I share with my like top tier clients and their one-on-one strategies. And it's all just dropped into a step-by-step process. So that's super juicy. But then if you're looking for the challenge that Megan was referring to, that is the next one we're doing is September 20th. And it's a 5-day challenge where you have a lot of good, you have a daily training where we go over all of these good, juicy branding concepts, and you have a little bit of work to do each day that just helps you take more steps towards getting that brand really solid. So those would be the 3 main ways, and it just kind of depends on where you're at in your business and what you're needing. But I'd love to support you with whatever.
Love that. So for those that are watching the recording and don't see the chat, it's sequoiasoul.com. That's the first one. The second one is soulbrandcamp.com. And then the third one is quinncurtis.com/challenge. And so those are the 3 different ways that you can connect with Quinn tonight. So thank you so much, Quinn. This was so helpful. You just like poured juicy goodness into us, and we're so grateful for you sharing your genius with us. And hopefully everybody walked away with some great tips so they can turn away and see some great results on their, when they start creating some things on social media and websites and everything else they're doing.
I hope so. Do you want to see this chart super fast?
Yeah. We do.
I'll show it so fast. Okay, this is what I came up today as my for asking.
Beautiful.
I know, I knew you'd geek out, Megan. So they're like, but wait a minute, there's so many online platforms and things that we need to pay for. I'm like, no, there's really not, because basically you have platforms that you might have to choose for what you'd want to schedule your social media on, which is where doTERRA Social would fall in if you like that platform. You might need a task or project management platform that you'd need to pay for, which you could even use a Google spreadsheet or Asana. I know Trello, Megan, is a rock star at. You've got graphic design, where maybe you're paying for some Canva access, or you're using another app or program. You need to maybe pay for your domain host. So maybe you're using GoDaddy or any of the others. But for all this other good stuff like website platforms, marketing funnels, email newsletter and autoresponder, shopping cart, online course hosts, event registration, texting, and online scheduling, Wovoto does all of those jobs for you, essentially replacing all of the green columns. So this was like a huge aha for a lot of my students, because they didn't quite understand. They're like, well, I have Wovoto for like my website, but I didn't know it could do all these other things. So this is really like the camp Megan and I love to plan, and why we get so psyched about Wovoto, because it saves us and our clients so much money when they just consolidate everything, and it just makes them more effective. So
Oh my gosh, you have to send this to me. I love
I
this.
will.
This is so good.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So
that's amazing. Well, thank you. It's cute to see some of the chats. Like, people are like, I'm following Quinn right now on social media. And then Nicole says, well, dang it, I should have gotten it on Wovoto a year ago.
never too late. Never too late.
Yep. And Angie, Facebook, or not Facebook, Wovoto does do texting now. They just partnered with, oh my gosh, what's the
Twilio.
Twilio. That's right. Yeah. So it's a new thing they just rolled out. So very cool. Well, awesome. Well, thank you so much, Quinn. We are just so grateful for your juicy goodness that you shared with us tonight. And I'm sure everybody else is super grateful. So drop in the chat, everybody, if you found value in our chat tonight. We'll be sure to type up all the notes, because I'm sure there's a lot of things that you didn't catch that we want to make sure you get after the meeting tonight. So we'll share that with you this week and the recording. And we hope you all have a lovely night. Thank you, Quinn.
Oh, thank you. Love you so much, Megan. And it was so great to spend the evening with you ladies. Have a wonderful rest of your night.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for your bright soul. That's such a good brand for you, because you are soul centered, and I really do appreciate that. So thank you so much.
Oh,
Have a good night, everybody.
See ya.